Story 1, Grief. 13 years and it still helps people. Story 2, The Guy with Two Dicks. One person called him ambidextrous. The funniest internet comment I have ever seen. Story 3, Thanks, Obama. From the man himself trying and failing to dip a cookie in milk. Instantly destroyed the subreddit for it. Story 4. When a child is being disruptive in a noisy and public area, I casually get close to them and pass gas above their head. I am really tall, so it is usually a direct hit. The legendary comment is a bit further down, but it is best to start at the top to get the full experience. Warning: do not read in class, in the office, or in any public place. People will think you are crazy for laughing. For more fun, I had an embarrassing moment by passing gas loudly in church. Story 5. A Reddit user once said something to the effect of, "Your tongue knows what everything feels like, whether it has ever touched it or not." I think about it every day. Story 6. That thread about what to do if you win the lottery is fascinating to read and makes me feel like I did win. Also, that thread about grief coming in waves is very moving. Story 7. The man had a son who was horrible, violent, angry, and sociopathic. They had a younger daughter who was not like that. They tried to shield her and themselves from him. One day, the son tried to harm his sister with a knife. It did not end well for the son, but not in the way one might think. The wife was a boxer. Story 8. The man who tried to casually ask what would happen if raw chicken fell on him, and everyone concluded that he had an inappropriate encounter with a piece of raw chicken. Story 9. This one guy is talking about having meat sandwich by Guar as a placeholder for hold music while working on a company's phones, forgetting about it, and having them call later asking about an error with callers reporting strange hold music. It's not that famous a post, and who knows if it's true, but imagining it still makes me laugh. Story 10. Isn't this putting Descartes before the horse? Also, I love that the comment got archived at a score of 6,969. If you don't get it, check the expression cart before the horse. Story 11. You people make me sick. Story 12. The sad thing about threads like these is that everything is more than 5 years old, often more than 10. Reddit is not what it used to be. Story 13. I cannot stop thinking about this very honest review of Jumbo's Clown Room, a famous and sort of hipster strip club in Los Angeles that is always recommended in the Los Angeles subreddit, but in reality is pretty divey and tame. This man put it into words better than I ever could. I am just being honest. For $11 well drinks, I better see some nudity. I better see someone pop golf balls out of her body into people's drinks. I need that kind of environment, not this mediocre nonsense. It felt like the club scene in a movie where the main actress is a stripper but also has a no nudity clause in her contract, like Jessica Alba in Sin City. And then on top of that, the women were in there dancing to Fleetwood Mac. You cannot make it clap to Stevie Nicks, man. That just feels sacrilegious. I just want to see some nudity, man. Where can I do that? Story 14. The lawyer who accidentally performed an exorcism on a ghost by serving an eviction notice to the ghost. Story 15. The speculation behind the size of Batista's physique. Story 16. Come on, guys. I am just here to talk about Rampart. Tom Felton has said that Hollywood public relations people use the Woody Harrelson Ask Me Anything as an example of what not to do when you are on Reddit. Story 17. This comment is in response to a photograph of the original poster's dad and a certain super famous rock star. When David Bowie pulls up on a motorcycle wearing short shorts and asks you to hop on, you get your behind on that bike. Story 18. There was one in lockdown where the post was whatever, but people started sharing the most random awkward and embarrassing things they had said or done in front of strangers. I was laughing so much I had to move to the spare room. Felt great after months of misery. There was one story about someone's dad who wore platform shoes in the 1970s. Mistaking someone with orthopedic shoes for a fellow 1970s guy and shouting to his wife, "Wow, Barbara, come and look at this guy's shoes." Everyone was just staring at him in horror. I might try to find it. Story 19. Years ago, I had no idea what no sleep was about. I started reading posts about weird stairs in the forest. The posts were long, elaborated, and mixed with some interviews. I really started to believe that there is something wrong or sinister on Earth. I think I discovered the purpose of the No Sleep subreddit maybe after 2 to 3 weeks. It all started here. Story 20. I'm late to the party and I doubt anyone will see this, but the souvenir check kid. To sum up, a high school kid's parents opened a bank account for him and put $1,000 in it for a trip he was taking. The new account came with checks which he thought were cool. He proceeded to write souvenir checks to all his friends who, predictably, went and cashed the checks. He wanted to go to the police to report them for cashing checks that he wrote them, because he stressed to his friends that they were only souvenir checks. But really, the whole thing is worth reading. I can't capture the sheer level of cluelessness. The original post is 9 years old. I wonder sometimes how that kid is doing now and whether he still thinks his friends were the stupid ones when he recalls this incident. Story 21. Man, I wish I knew what these posts were talking about. It's like hanging out with a group of people talking and laughing about others that you've never met. And if you provided a link to the post or summary, bless you. Story 22. Isn't that putting Descartes before the horse? In a post about a guy who thinks a famous adult film star is in his philosophy class, someone dropped the best pun of all time. Story 23. The jumper cable guy always had a long comment and somehow always looked back to his father beating him with jumper cables. Story 24. If this is real, it is messed up. Story 25. Saying my uncle kept changing his appearance every time a famous actor changed his appearance. Then suddenly the famous actor's son replies to me wanting to show his dad. Sadly, I was unable to do so because my uncle became a recluse and his family became protective of him. Story 26. When an original poster is seeking something and someone responds, "Have you tried the internet?" It can be a rude response, depending on the original poster's query. The point of Reddit is to gain a better understanding through direct feedback. A lot of times, the "Have you tried the internet?" response is genuinely hilarious because the original poster appears to be purposefully vague. Story 27. I think it was an old school cool where a guy posted his parents when they were younger and someone commented on the original poster's dad's hands, saying he had some paws, which led to some hilarious replies embarrassing the original poster. I tried searching but couldn't find the link. Story 28. The intent is to provide players with a sense of pride and accomplishment. Story 29. I still remember that post in Wall Street Bets of a guy wanting to bankrupt a bank in his town by trying to withdraw all the money from the bank's ATM. Story 30. The guy who took a selfie of his tattoo kept getting asked to prove it. He ended up with 6 or so shots deep. Story 31. The person who was watering a dead plant for months thought it was still alive and was criticized by the plant community. Also, the guy who tried to convince his girlfriend's family that he had never heard of a potato before. Story 32. This one is almost for sure made up or exaggerated. The person who claimed to be intimate with a coconut kept it under his bed for weeks. The main part one remembered was that he engaged with the gross coconut in the dark, felt a weird sensation, and there was a maggot wiggling in his urethra. That's quite unpleasant. Story 33. I don't know about legendary, but there was an AskReddit discussion about the hardest thing you've ever had to say to someone. The top comment was a really rough answer about calling a sibling regarding the death of a parent or another sibling. The second comment was simply Worcestershire. Story 34. A super old one and quite wholesome unlike most of the previous stories. Today you, tomorrow me. Story 35. Too many ants being a national hero. Original poster, paraphrased, I am incredibly problematic and want my best friend to leave his girlfriend for me. Did I mention how problematic I am? Too many ants. Link him to this post, and he will be able to see where you are coming from in a way that is clearer than text messages, which are short and impersonal. He will see it with clear eyes, and he will probably even realize he needs to remove the problematic person from his life. Your replies, in particular, will show him everything he has not realized. She does, and it goes exactly as you would expect. Story 36. I heard a yo mama joke and I cannot get over it. Not sure if it was on Reddit or not, but here it goes. Yo mama's so dumb. She kept staring at an orange juice bottle for 24 hours straight because it said, concentrate on it. I think it's the best one I have heard so far. Story 37. I had to use a special tool when I was a kid. My parents claimed that I took way too big of bowel movements and kept clogging the toilet. Story 38. One of the first Reddit posts I read was about a woman who thought her husband was cheating on her with his sister. I have not seen it since, and I am a little reluctant to search too hard for it. Story 39. I'm relatively new to Reddit, so for me, it's the girlfriend asking about her boyfriend's favorite player, Hector Banana Bread, in the National Basketball Association subreddit. Story 40. Does anyone remember an epic conversation about fighting wildlife? Story 41. The recent reaction to the first ever image of Luigi Mangione on FOMOA was some of the best GIF work I have ever seen. Story 42. The man who ordered a life-size sex doll and then it was delivered to him while he was under the influence of acid. Story 43. I was there for the birth of the brood in the subreddit I Am Sorry John. All the ironic, evil cartoon character content pretty much ended after that. Story 44. The thing about the guy who thought he had a scat fetish but didn't, and also that post about the kid who violently soiled himself. Story 45. Electronic Arts' poor attempt at defending their exploitative cash grab that was Star Wars Battlefront 2 immediately comes to mind. Story 46. It was a post about the gross katydid bug and about warts. Someone mentioned how one ate their foot wart and it made it worse. Somehow, this morphed into people pushing the lyrics of The Sound of Silence, but with the lyrics reflecting the experience of a katydid bug eating the footwort and the bloody aftermath. It was poetry and it sings well too. I have it saved somewhere on my computer. Story 47. The guy is discussing going back in time to the Roman Empire with the United States military, which subsequently became of interest to Hollywood executives, turning it into a movie. That was a decade ago. What happened? Story 48. These two will always be my favorite. Story 49. I happen to believe that the grilled cheese versus melt post single-handedly ended the trend of gimmicky grilled cheese restaurants popping up and offering nearly exclusively melts, paninis, and regular sandwiches. Story 50. This is in my save folder loads of legendary posts. Story 51. Replaced by AI. Story 52. I like the bread. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.